In 2008, U.S. home values crashed by more than $7 trillion, with prices in some cities plunging 50 to 60% and foreclosures hitting 3 million families in a single year. Now, in 2025, the same nightmare is replaying. Inventories are exploding, up 40% to 50% year over year, while sellers slash $50,000 to $100,000 off asking prices just to stay afloat. Foreclosure filings are already climbing by double digits, echoing the storm before the last collapse. From Las Vegas tourism collapsing to Florida's insurance-driven exodus, the warning signs are blinding. The shocking truth: 2025 could be the closest déjà vu to 2008 we'll ever see. Number 10. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit's story is both legendary and alarming when you look at housing parallels between 2008 and 2025. Back in the Great Recession, Detroit's housing collapse was catastrophic. Home values plunged nearly 60% from their mid-2000s peak. Foreclosure filings in 2009 topped 45,000 in Wayne County alone, leaving entire blocks empty. A city once built for nearly 2 million people was shrinking rapidly, and houses that once sold for $120,000 could be picked up for $10,000 or less. That devastation turned Detroit into ground zero for the housing crash. Fast forward to 2025, and while Detroit has rebuilt some parts of its downtown, the underlying problems remain eerily similar to 2008. Median home prices have climbed in recent years, rising to around $110,000 to $130,000 compared to $70,000 just a decade ago. But the pace of growth far outstrips local income levels, where the median household income is under $38,000. That mismatch is almost identical to the affordability gap of the early 2000s. Investors have swooped in, buying homes in bulk and renting them out at $1,200 to $1,400 per month, squeezing locals who can't qualify for mortgages. Inventory in 2025 is up nearly 35% year over year, with thousands of price cuts already on the market. Many neighborhoods show houses slashed by $20,000 to $40,000 in a matter of months. Combine that with mortgage rates hovering near 7%, and Detroit families are again locked out of ownership, mirroring the dangerous dynamic that triggered the 2008 wave of foreclosures. Even more alarming is the surge in foreclosure activity creeping back in. One filing per every 1,900 housing units was reported recently, and the numbers are accelerating. For a city still haunted by its last crash, these echoes are chilling. Detroit may have escaped its worst days, but the 2025 market looks like history threatening to repeat itself. With investors walking away, neighborhoods hollowing out, and ordinary residents trapped in another vicious cycle. Number 9. Sacramento, California. Sacramento has always been overshadowed by San Francisco and Los Angeles, but when it comes to housing bubbles, this city is a repeat offender. During the 2008 crash, Sacramento's housing market collapsed spectacularly. Median home prices plummeted nearly 50% from $375,000 in 2006 to under $190,000 by 2011. Foreclosure rates skyrocketed, with nearly 1 in every 12 households facing filings. Entire suburban developments turned into ghost neighborhoods, with houses abandoned mid-construction. Now, in 2025, Sacramento is once again flashing those same red warning lights. Home prices, which peaked around $500,000 in 2022, are already showing double-digit declines, with some dropping by $50,000 to $80,000 in less than a year. Inventory has surged nearly 40% year over year, creating the same oversupply conditions that sank the market back in 2008. Sellers are cutting prices aggressively, with Redfin data showing nearly 35% of listings slashed since mid-2024. The problem: Sacramento is an affordability trap. The median household income hovers near $80,000. But with 7% mortgage rates, the average monthly payment on a median-priced home exceeds $3,200, far beyond what most families here can safely afford. Investors who once poured into Sacramento, buying cheap homes after 2008, are now dumping properties, cashing out before the crash deepens. Rental markets are cooling too, with some units cutting rents by $200 to $400 per month just to attract tenants. What makes Sacramento dangerous is the speed of change. In 2005 to 2006, the city went from boomtown to crash in less than 18 months. Today, we're seeing the same acceleration: high inventory, sharp price cuts, foreclosures ticking up, and affordability collapsing. Sacramento may not have Silicon Valley's wealth to cushion the blow, making it a prime candidate to relive its devastating 2008-style meltdown all over again. Number 8. Miami, Florida. Miami is the ultimate symbol of real estate excess, and its housing crashes are legendary. In 2008, Miami's condo market imploded. Luxury towers stood half-empty, developers went bankrupt, and median condo prices dropped over 55%. At the peak, more than 20,000 foreclosure filings flooded Miami-Dade County in a single year. Properties that once sold for $400,000 were auctioned for less than $150,000, leaving investors devastated. Fast forward to 2025, and Miami looks eerily familiar. The median home price, which soared to over $600,000 in 2022, is now slipping fast. Already down 12 to 15% in some neighborhoods, with waterfront condos slashed by $100,000 to $200,000. Insurance costs are pouring gasoline on the fire. Annual premiums have jumped from $3,000 a decade ago to $10,000 to $12,000 today, making ownership brutally expensive. HOA fees in high-rise condos can easily reach $800 to $1,200 per month, and retirees are fleeing as these costs swallow fixed incomes. Inventory is up nearly 45% year over year, a shocking indicator of stress. Realtors are reporting condos sitting unsold for 6 to 8 months, forcing price reductions of 20% or more. Meanwhile, median rents of $3,000 to $3,500 per month are finally softening, showing investor demand is cooling. Adding to the storm, Florida's population boom is slowing as residents escape sky-high housing costs, flooding risks, and insurance nightmares. The parallels with 2008 are undeniable: overbuilt condos, inflated prices, disappearing buyers, and mounting foreclosures. Miami once branded itself as the gateway to Latin America, but in 2025, it risks becoming ground zero for America's next housing meltdown. History doesn't just rhyme here, it repeats tower by tower, condo by condo. Number 7. Stockton, California. No city was more infamous during the 2008 crash than Stockton. In fact, it became the first major U.S. city to declare bankruptcy in 2012, largely due to the fallout from its housing implosion. At the peak of the bubble, Stockton's median home price hit $400,000, only to collapse to $150,000 by 2011, a staggering 62% decline. Foreclosure rates were among the highest in the nation, with nearly 1 in every 10 households affected. Now in 2025, Stockton is repeating its tragic cycle. Home prices surged back to around $450,000 in 2022, but cracks are widening fast. Prices have already dropped 10 to 15%, with some homes slashed by $50,000 in under a year. Inventory has ballooned by more than 35%, and mortgage rates near 7% have left buyers priced out. Monthly payments on a median home now exceed $3,000, while the city's median household income sits closer to $70,000, creating an affordability disaster. What's even more concerning is the investor activity. After 2008, hedge funds and landlords bought foreclosed homes in bulk. Now, many of those same investors are unloading, fearing another wave of declines. Rent growth has stalled, and some properties sit vacant. Foreclosures are already climbing. Recent filings show a 20% increase year over year, with early signs of distress in suburban developments. The eerie déjà vu is impossible to ignore. Stockton once became the symbol of America's broken housing market, and in 2025, its role looks chillingly similar. If history is any guide, Stockton could again be the canary in the coal mine, where America's housing crash doesn't just start, but where it makes headlines first. Number 6. Denver, Colorado. Denver was once hailed as one of America's hottest housing markets, but the cracks are spreading fast in 2025. During the 2008 crash, Denver's prices didn't fall as hard as places like Florida or California, but the city still saw home values sink by nearly 20%, and foreclosures spiked across the metro. By 2011, many suburban developments around Aurora and Lakewood were littered with abandoned homes and declining property values. Fast forward to 2025, and Denver is flashing warning signs that feel almost worse than back then. Median home prices peaked near $600,000 in 2022, but inventory has now doubled since pre-pandemic levels. Homes once flying off the market in 7 days are now sitting for 60 to 90 days, forcing sellers to slash $50,000 to $100,000 just to get offers. The affordability gap is staggering. The median household income in Denver is around $85,000, yet at today's 7% mortgage rates, the monthly payment on a median home is over $3,800. That's nearly 55% of the average family's take-home pay, far beyond sustainable levels. Rental markets aren't saving the day either. Average rents in Denver are around $2,100 to $2,400 per month. But growth has stalled and vacancies are rising as tenants double up to avoid high costs. Investors who once snapped up suburban homes are now retreating, and institutional landlords are quietly dumping properties. Foreclosure activity has ticked up 18% year over year, with early delinquencies spreading in neighborhoods where prices ran up the fastest. The scariest part? Denver has a construction pipeline that's overshooting demand, eerily similar to 2006. Thousands of new apartments and townhomes are hitting the market just as demand weakens, creating a glut that echoes the pre-crash overbuild. Add in job market uncertainty as tech layoffs ripple through the metro, and Denver looks dangerously exposed. In 2008, Denver's downturn was muted compared to others. But in 2025, the city risks becoming one of the nation's most overvalued housing markets, with a crash that could rival its coastal peers. Number 5. Fort Myers, Florida. Fort Myers was ground zero in Florida's 2008 meltdown. Back then, home prices fell nearly 60% from their mid-2006 highs, and Lee County recorded some of the highest foreclosure rates in America. Entire subdivisions sat half-built, weeds overtaking driveways where buyers had walked away. Investors who once swarmed the Gulf Coast market fled, leaving Fort Myers hollowed out and devastated. Now, in 2025, Fort Myers is dangerously replaying history. The median home price, which exploded to nearly $420,000 in 2022, is already slipping, with declines of 12 to 15% across many neighborhoods. Inventory has surged almost 45% year over year, and the average days on market has stretched from 20 days in 2021 to more than 70 in 2025. Sellers are cutting $40,000 to $80,000 from asking prices, signaling desperation. But the real killer in Fort Myers is insurance. Premiums that averaged $2,500 a decade ago now often exceed $9,000 annually due to hurricane risk and storm surge exposure. Combined with HOA fees in gated communities, many between $400 to $800 per month, the true cost of ownership is driving families and retirees out. Foreclosure filings in Lee County have already spiked 22% compared to last year, a chilling echo of 2008. Rents aren't immune either. With investors retreating, rental supply is surging, and average rents of $2,000 to $2,200 are softening as landlords slash rates to keep units filled. Meanwhile, wages in Fort Myers hover around $60,000 median household income, making both buying and renting unsustainable. Retirees who once flocked to Fort Myers for affordable paradise are now cashing out, adding even more pressure to oversupply. The parallels with 2008 are stark: speculative buying, overvaluation, insurance-driven exodus, and foreclosure waves on the horizon. Fort Myers isn't just a Florida housing risk, it's a bubble sitting on shifting sand, and when it breaks, the collapse could rival its own infamous past. Number 4. Orlando, Florida. Orlando has always been one of Florida's fastest-growing metros, But that growth also made it one of the most fragile during the 2008 housing crash. Back then, home prices dropped nearly 55%, and foreclosure filings reached over 70,000 in Orange County alone. Entire stretches of suburban Orlando, from Kissimmee to Claremont, were filled with abandoned homes and unsold condos, turning the happiest place on earth into one of the saddest housing stories. In 2025, Orlando is once again on the edge of disaster. Median home prices soared from under $250,000 in 2015 to over $420,000 in 2022, but affordability has collapsed. At today's 7% mortgage rates, monthly payments for a median home top $3,200, while the median household income sits near $70,000. That's over 50% of income swallowed by housing, a carbon copy of the affordability squeeze that fueled 2008's crash. Inventory is climbing at a breakneck pace, up nearly 48% in a single year. Price cuts are everywhere, with $30,000 to $60,000 slashed off suburban homes and condos sitting unsold for months. Foreclosure activity has already jumped 20%, and early-stage delinquencies are accelerating, especially in investor-heavy vacation rental zones. Many Airbnb and VRBO owners who banked on endless tourism are now underwater, forced to sell as bookings soften and operating costs soar. The hidden pressure is insurance. Premiums that averaged $2,000 a decade ago can now exceed $7,500, with hurricane coverage driving many homeowners to the brink. Add in HOA fees, often $300 to $600 monthly for condos, and the cost spiral is undeniable. Even rents, averaging $2,200 to $2,600, are cooling as locals double up or leave altogether. Orlando in 2008 showed the nation how fast paradise could crumble. In 2025, the parallels are terrifyingly clear. Overbuilding, investor speculation, collapsing affordability, and a foreclosure wave gaining steam. The same cycle is back, and this time, the Magic Kingdom won't be able to wave it away. Number 3. Riverside, California. Back in 2008, Riverside County was the face of America's housing collapse. At the peak of the bubble, median home prices hit nearly $415,000 before plunging by more than 55% to under $190,000 by 2011. Foreclosure signs littered entire neighborhoods, and abandoned developments turned the Inland Empire into a symbol of financial ruin. Families who stretched themselves to buy during the boom lost everything when lenders came knocking. Fast forward to 2025, and Riverside looks frighteningly familiar. Median home prices, which spiked to around $550,000 in 2022, are now slipping fast. Inventory has surged over 40% year over year, and price cuts of $40,000 to $80,000 are becoming the norm. At 7% mortgage rates, the monthly payment on a median home is over $3,700, yet the median household income in Riverside sits closer to $75,000. That's nearly double the affordability ceiling, echoing the exact mismatch that detonated the market in 2008. Investor speculation is again a major factor. Entire suburban tracts were bought by corporate landlords after the last crash, but now many of those same firms are quietly listing homes for sale. Rental markets are softening too. Average rents of $2,200 to $2,500 are flattening, and some landlords are dropping rates just to hold tenants. Foreclosure activity has jumped 25% year over year, particularly in communities where buyers stretched for inflated homes during the pandemic boom. The construction pipeline is adding fuel to the fire. Thousands of new homes and townhouses were approved when demand was at its peak, but now those units are flooding the market into weakening conditions. Riverside is once again stuck with oversupply, plunging affordability, and investor flight, the same toxic cocktail that drove its collapse in 2008. Unless the brakes slam on, Riverside could relive its nightmare in full color. Number 2. Palm Beach, Florida. Palm Beach is synonymous with wealth, yachts, and oceanfront mansions. But even the rich weren't safe in 2008. During the crash, luxury homes across Palm Beach County lost 30 to 40% of their value, and condo markets collapsed as investors abandoned projects mid-construction. Foreclosures, once thought unthinkable in such wealthy enclaves, surged above 50,000 filings across the county. In 2025, Palm Beach is showing cracks beneath the glitter. Median home prices, which soared past $600,000 in 2022, are now slipping by 10 to 15%, with some luxury estates slashed by $250,000 to $500,000. Inventory is up nearly 35% year over year, and properties once sold in weeks now linger for months. The true danger lies in costs. Annual insurance premiums that once ran $4,000 are now topping $12,000 to $15,000, while HOA fees in luxury condos push $1,500 monthly. Even high-income retirees and snowbirds are selling unable or unwilling to absorb those expenses. The rental market isn't immune either. Seasonal rental demand is softening, with oceanfront condos that once fetched $8,000 a month now sitting empty. Investor confidence is fading, and developers who banked on endless luxury demand are slowing projects. Foreclosure filings, though not at 2008 levels yet, are up 18% in Palm Beach County, signaling the early stages of distress. Palm Beach has long believed it was insulated by wealth, but 2008 proved otherwise. In 2025, history is whispering the same warning. Even the rich cannot outspend the collapse of a bubble. The parallels are chilling, and Palm Beach may soon remind America that no market, no matter how glamorous, is safe. Number 1. Las Vegas, Nevada. No city symbolizes the 2008 crash like Las Vegas. When the bubble burst, prices fell more than 60%, wiping out billions in wealth. Entire neighborhoods turned into foreclosure ghost towns, with more than 90,000 filings in Clark County alone. Developers walked away mid-project, leaving skeletons of half-built casinos and subdivisions. Tourism, the city's lifeblood, also collapsed during the Great Recession. Visitor numbers dropped from nearly 40 million in 2007 to barely 35 million by 2009, crushing jobs and fueling foreclosures. Now, in 2025, the danger feels eerily similar. Home prices that peaked at nearly $450,000 in 2022 are already falling, with declines of 12 to 18% across the valley. Inventory has jumped almost 50% year over year, and homes once selling in bidding wars now sit with $50,000 to $100,000 cuts. The affordability crisis is undeniable. The median household income in Las Vegas is around $72,000, but a median home at today's mortgage rates costs $3,400 a month, over half of local incomes. Tourism, once a reliable cushion, is also faltering. Rising travel costs and slowing consumer spending have hit Vegas hard. Visitor numbers dipped again in 2024, and casino revenues are flattening, echoing the same economic spiral seen in 2008. Job cuts in hospitality are already climbing, leaving thousands of workers vulnerable just as housing costs peak. Foreclosures are ticking up too, with filings up 20% year over year. Investors who flooded Vegas post-2008 are retreating, selling off rental portfolios as demand weakens. Rental prices, averaging $1,800 to $2,000, are finally dropping after years of relentless increases. Combine that with stalled construction projects on the Strip, and the parallels to 2008 are impossible to ignore. Las Vegas once branded itself as recession-proof entertainment, but in 2008, the illusion shattered. In 2025, the house looks set to lose again, and this time, the collapse could be even harder.